So much for blast processing. Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we'll be counting down our picks for the top 10 worst Sega Genesis games. For this list, we looked at video games available for Sega's 16-bit console, which have garnered a notorious reputation for either their abysmal visuals, broken controls, terrible gameplay, or just being downright boring. We are, however, excluding unlicensed games like Awesome Possum and Crazy Bus because, well, they're unlicensed. Although Crazy Bus does get a special mention for this monstrosity. Number 10, Watersport.
Welcome to the Fight Palace.
Starting off our countdown is this oddball fighting game about warriors far and wide coming to prove their worth in the ultimate tournament. I know it sounds familiar. Once the game is started, however, the only thing slaughtered will be your eyes for having to witness this travesty on your TV screen. Flaws are found across the board with bland graphics and an abundance of gameplay issues like poor hit detection and unresponsive controls. The only redeeming quality to this game is that it isn't quite as bad as the remaining 9 on this list. Number 9. Batman Forever. Video games based off of movies are usually a sign of trouble, and this one is no exception. Essentially a well below average beat 'em up, Batman Forever contains some truly horrible controls and an unforgiving level of difficulty. Developers tried to emulate the digitized graphics and gameplay made popular by Mortal Kombat, and unfortunately, the end result is an ugly visual mess that's almost unplayable. The only aspect of this game that will last forever is how sickeningly lousy it is. Number 8, Back to the Future Part 3. If our calculations are correct, when you pop this baby into your Sega Genesis, you're gonna see some serious shit. Another awful game-to-film adaptation, this mess is less of a full-fledged experience and rather just a collection of minigames, with none of them being good. Opening with a frustrating horseback mission, things only get worse from there with 2 painfully bad shooting sections and a mediocre platforming section. It's also laughably short, with some playthroughs clocking in at under 10 minutes. It does capture one scene in the movie, though. Number 7, Balls 3D. Here's a strange one. The marketing tagline for this game was, "To be the champion, you gotta have balls." This is completely accurate, as you need to be incredibly brave to waste your time on this trash. This is an outlandishly bizarre game for its strange choice of characters, including a farting monkey, a caveman, and a ballerina, all of which are composed entirely with 3D balls. These elements might have made the game mindlessly entertaining, but unfortunately the game is plagued by combat that boils down to chaotic button mashing and some truly irritating sound effects. Be smart, steer clear of this one. Number 6, The Great Waldo Search. Based on the popular series of books that task the reader with finding a character named Waldo, or Wally if you live in Europe, much of the charm of this simple interaction is lost in the video game counterpart. The problem lies within the gameplay being far too similar to the books it emulates, resulting in an experience that's far too bare bones and casual for the video game medium. All the player has to do is move the cursor around the screen and press a button when they think they found Waldo. Yeehaw, that was fun. Like people always say about movies, meh, the book was better. Number 5, Rise of the Robots. Here are some robots we'd like to not see rise. Yet Yet another subpar fighting game for the platform, Rise of the Robots is a brawler similar to Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat, but it is far from their level of quality. Nearly every component of the game feels defective or broken, with mediocre graphics, sloppy controls, and gameplay mechanics that are horribly rigid and robotic. Nothing meshes well at all, causing the game to be a nuisance to play and a heavily flawed experience. All these robots are good for is scrap metal. Number 4, Dark Castle. Just when you think it couldn't get any worse, along comes our next game. Dark Castle has literally no redeeming factor to it at all.
Yeah.
The quote-unquote music of the game is just one track on an endless loop. If that doesn't burn out your earballs, then the endless barrage of stupid sound effects will. The controls are utterly pathetic, making every leap or movement a near-death encounter, causing the player to rely more on luck to make any progress.
I keep dying instantly on the first screen. I can't even move an inch before I get bombarded with the Space Invaders ensemble of bats.
What makes this game stand out from the rest on this list? Well, there is this.
What?
Saddam was here? As in Saddam Hussein?
Number 3, Shaq-Fu. You expected this to show up eventually, right? Garnering its infamy from its ridiculous premise alone, basketball player Shaquille O'Neal is transported to an alternate realm and has to engage in kung fu battles with a bevy of evil opponents. Craziness aside, this fighter is still bad in every other aspect of its design. The combat is slow and clunky, with controls having a terrible delay to them. Speed and precision are essential to this genre, and without them, you're left with atrocities like this. It can't be all bad. I mean, there's a sequel coming after all.
Looks like Shaq Daddy's gonna have to whoop some ass.
Shaq, man, just stop.
You realize who I am?
Number 2, Heavy Nova. The only thing that's heavy about this game is the burden that will weigh on your conscience after you play it. An abysmal mess, Heavy Nova is a combination of both a platformer and a fighting game. This mixture seems like a promising idea on paper, but in execution, well, just look. Making matters worse are the 1-2 punch of humdrum graphics and nauseating sound effects. And did we mention the god-awful bad controls? If there's any redeeming quality to this game, it's making your other games look a lot better. Before we reveal our top pick, here are a few dishonorable mentions. Number 1, Sword of Sodan. We have truly hit the bottom of the barrel. Taking the top spot on our list is this fantasy action game about gods and evil necromancers. Sounds cool enough, I guess, right? Well, funny enough, the game was originally released for Amiga personal computers and met with positive reviews. Unfortunately, the port to the Sega Genesis was nothing like its Amiga counterpart. So what went wrong? Everything, apparently. A butchered port top to bottom, the Genesis version is hampered down by unbearably bad controls and a frustrating sense of monotony from its repetitive gameplay. But hey, don't listen to us. We feel that the footage speaks for itself. Do you agree with our list?
Great job.
Which Sega Genesis games shocked you by how awful they were? For more top 10s published every day, be sure to subscribe to WatchMojo.com.